Ladies, gentlemen, friends, welcome back to another episode of the Pure Ambition Podcast. Today, episode 200. Man, thinking back to it, where I started, sitting in the basement of my mom's house during COVID, during the peak of the pandemic, and recording that first podcast episode on my old Mac computer. I had no microphone. I had no headphones. I had no setup. I didn't even have my own room. I was sharing a room with my brother, and I was recording all of my podcast episodes at the desk that was in my mom's room, because it was the only place where I could get some peace and serenity, and it had carpeted floors, and that was where we started. We started there, and I had no idea where I wanted to take the direction of this podcast when I started. All I knew was that there was a world of darkness out there, and I wanted to shed a little bit of light. And I was personally at the darkest place mentally, and probably one of the darkest places mentally in my entire life. I was going through a really bad back injury. I had an L4, L5 herniated disc in my back. I had torn my ACL playing football the year before. And the back, at least with the ACL, I knew that if I just show up and do the work every day, I'm going to get healed. But the back was just every single day just being in agonizing pain. And it really affected all areas of my life, all areas of my health. But I had a lot of extra time now that I wasn't playing football. School was online. All I did every day was wake up, do my online classes, go and Instacart for hours upon hours every day. And I would have one AirPod in. I would listen while I was in the store shopping in the craziness of Wegmans or Acme or Giant or some of the other supermarkets that were up in Philadelphia, just listening to personal development podcasts, just trying to better myself in any way I could. I got obsessed with it. So I would do that. I would wake up. I would do my classes, online classes, or, turn my camera off and, research more things about podcasting, go in Instacart all day. And then I would come home and I would just work on the podcast for hours and hours and hours each day, researching, writing, clipping, editing, just figuring it out. I was a 21-year-old kid. I had no equipment. I had no real direction of where I wanted to take the show, but I was so lost in my pursuit of like what I wanted to do in my life. I felt like I didn't have purpose. I felt like I didn't have meaning. And the podcast opened up a door to a world that I didn't know existed. It exposed me to new people, new perspectives, and so many experiences have come from that. And from this podcast, so many connections, so many relationships, so many new doors being opened, so many new opportunities, business opportunities. But the biggest thing is just learning. Like, the thing about it was I didn't have a niche. I didn't really know who I was talking to. I was more so doing the podcast selfishly, just to really scratch my own creative itch. But then I realized that it was a way for me to bring value to others. There was value in the conversations that I was having. So I started to have more of them. And I did one podcast every single week for a year. And it was a grind. I was doing everything myself. I was learning. I was writing copy. I was editing the thumbnails and graphics, and I was clipping and editing and promoting and posting and doing the reach outs and the coordination and the scheduling and the interviewing. And even still, I would still do a lot of that. But I have had two guys working with me, Tony, who's been my back-end editor, just absolutely crushing it over the past year and a half, doing all the back-end stuff. And then Mikal, who has been doing the short form clipping and editing. And both of those guys have just been an absolute godsend. But in this episode, I'm going to explain why I'm putting the show on pause, the new creative pursuits I'm directing my energy toward, and why leaning into just trust and surrender is the most important thing that we can do to grow in life. And so after months of considering this, I have decided to put the show on pause because I feel like that's where God is directing me. I feel like that's what he's telling me to do right now. And there are just so many moving parts in my life right now. I feel like my energy is being pulled in a lot of different directions. My bandwidth is only so much. And some of you guys know this, some of you don't, but I'm the co-founder of two health and wellness apps. Actually, the first is called Upspace, which what we are building towards is the Spotify for health. And I'm so stoked about it. Right now, as it stands, it's a platform built around building community, centered around health and wellness, and still an incredible app. Lots of great communities in there, lots of amazing content to help you live a happier, healthier life. Recently, we launched our second app called Squat Up, which is a social accountability tool that helps people build healthy habits. And I think we're on the cusp. I know we're on the cusp of something really amazing, and we're helping people build healthy habits. And I know that, like, on top of running a business, overseeing the marketing and the social media and the growth on the Upspace and Squat Up side of things, on top of being a full-time creator, posting every day on social media, collaborating with brands, and also doing the podcast every week. It's just like I felt like my energy has been pulled in a bunch of different directions, and I haven't been able to really dive deep on, a small amount of things. I feel like I've been doing a bunch of different things, like, okay, but I want to go narrow and deep and go where my energy's calling me. And those two platforms right now are Instagram, which has been, my platform of choice. The one where I feel like I'm able to create the most impact, connect with the most amount of people. So that's where majority of my energy is going to go to. But YouTube has been calling on my heartstrings for a while. And I've done YouTube on and off in the past. I started doing vlogs in college, like day in the life of a college football player and how to get recruited and my training and things like that. And then when I was big running a lot, I was documenting my race preps and doing things like that. And I've done some random vlogs here and there, but majority of it has been just podcast content as of late. But then I started this channel, the Pure Ambition Podcast channel, to kind of keep things separate from the main channel. But YouTube, again, I feel God is calling me to do this. I've told a bunch of my friends this. I've told a lot of people of it. I might have mentioned it on a solo episode before, but I have this concept of Dom Does World. And I know it might sound a little bit corny, but I've had this idea in my mind for like 2 years probably. And after I had cardiac arrest and I almost died, I was meeting with my buddy Dominic, who is like, he's an incredible podcast called The Running Effect. It's like the #1 podcast in the world. He's an 18-year-old kid. He's just a stud. And we were grabbing coffee one day, and he was like, Dom, like, if you died that day, you never would have brought Dom Does World to life. Like, the world would have missed out on that. And I just kind of leaned back in my chair. I was like, dude, you're right. And even still, that was months ago. And from that point, I started documenting. I made a video and posted it about like my travel to DC, and then I filmed another one in Boulderthon last year, doing my first 5K after the cardiac arrest. And I've recorded a bunch of stuff that I haven't put out there, other than the DC video, going to World Culture Festival. And really what I'm trying to do with Dom Does World, if to paint you guys a little bit of a picture, it's like if you guys are familiar with Yes Theory or the series on Netflix called Down to Earth with Zac Efron and Darren Orlean. Those have been two of the most influential series, shows, channels, whatever you want to call them. They're a little bit different in my life. And I've had this vision of just really leaning into my curiosity and almost being like a journalist in the world of health. And there's so many things that I'm interested in, so many questions I have, so many things I want to just dive into, get answers to, and really just be a voice of what can be possible for people because I shouldn't be here. I shouldn't be standing in front of you guys right now. I shouldn't be sitting in front of this microphone. Like, I should have died last year. And the fact that I'm still here means that God's not done with me yet. And He has a plan for me. And I need to trust and surrender every single day to the plan that He has. And right now, as much as it really does hurt me to stop doing the podcast because I love doing it so much. Like I said, I've been able to connect with some of the dopest humans I've ever met. I've been able to learn immensely. It's challenged me to grow in ways that, I never would have thought possible. It's opened up new doors and opportunities for me. Like if I never started the podcast, I'd probably be sitting in a cubicle making a bunch of phone calls for 12 hours a day. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Not that there's anything wrong with the 9 to 5, but I knew that that was not the path that God was laying out for me. And when I hit record for the first time on GarageBand and again, didn't know what I was doing, it just felt so natural, and it felt like that was something that I was able to contribute to the world and I was able to bring value to others. Because ultimately, like, Jesus was a missionary. He came to this earth and He evangelized, He died for our sins. He was the ultimate missionary, and we are called to continue His work. And so every day I am waking up and I am just trusting and surrendering and letting Him take the wheel, because I have placed my own identity a lot in needing to find validation from other people. Because I'm not going to lie, I fall into the comparison trap a lot of, why is my content performing? Why is it not performing? Why is this person having more success than I am? This person's getting these brand deals. These people are doing this, they're doing that. And that's not even what it's about. But if you place your identity in worldly things, in needing external validation from other people, like, for example, if you find your self-worth and your self-identity in what, if other people find you attractive, for example, then you're going to be chasing a carrot on a hamster wheel that you're never going to get. You're never going to get to the carrot. It's always going to be dangling out there in front of you, and you're going to tire yourself, or you're going to run yourself into the ground trying to chase that carrot that you're never going to catch. So I feel like for right now, I just haven't been as inspired to do the work for the podcast as I had been in the past. Like I said, I used to wake up at 5 a.m. and go to bed at midnight to fit everything in a day to just maximize my output from a podcast standpoint. And then as I've grown the show, as I've hired more people to help me out, again, it's been amazing. And every single time I get the chance to sit down and talk with somebody, hear their story, learn about their expertise, and know that I'm providing something that's going to give so much value to other people. Like, again, like, I do this somewhat selfishly to scratch my own creative itch and, meet some incredible people, spend time with some awesome people, and just continue to learn from them. But right now, I know that what I need to do is invest in YouTube, follow that call that I'm getting from God, because again, like, it's been on my heart for a while, but it's like, just because I want that, is that what He wants for my life, right? Like, we always think about what we want versus like, what does He want for us? Like, we are always growing up, we're always asked, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? What do you want to do? This, that, and the other. Where do you want to live? It's like, I want to just completely surrender to the will that He has for me. And right now, He's calling me to pivot into something that's unknown. And I'm not going to lie, it's been a little scary, because going into the unknown is scary. It's like being a beginner again. Like, I know what I need to do on a weekly basis, on a daily basis, to make sure the podcast is continuing to go smoothly. Ultimately, I don't dictate how many people listen to the episode or watch the episode on YouTube or whatever else it is. I can't control those things, but what I can control is, the quality that I'm putting out there. And I've personally just not been inspired to do the work for the podcast. Not that I don't enjoy sitting down and having these incredible conversations and, sharing insights and things like that. But there's just been some resistance there for whatever reason. And when I feel that resistance, I kind of have to take a step back, because sometimes resistance is simply just a challenge for us, that the devil places in front of us, that we have to figure out a way to keep moving forward, or it's God directing us in a different direction. And I think that for me, it's God directing me into a different direction. There's so much that goes into creating content. Like, it's not just, oh yeah, I have this great idea. I'm just going to open my camera right now and I'm just going to record it and post it and edit, and it's going to be great. There's ideation, there's, brainstorming, there's script outlining, scripting, filming, editing, editing, doing the captions, posting. Like, there's so much that goes into it. And ultimately, I want every single piece of content that I create to bring value to people, right? Like, can this piece of content be applied to your life so that you can become the best version of yourself, so that you can live a life that you love? Ultimately, with my content, I want to provide tools, tips, resources, insights, and help you live a life you love, and just spark that curiosity and that sense of adventure inside of you, because I have been exposed to a world that I didn't know existed. Like, there's a crazy stat of like what percentage of the population never leaves their hometown, and then another population that never moves with like outside of 50 miles of the town they grew up in. Like, all these crazy stats. And I never really traveled when I was growing up, other than the Jersey Shore and the Outer Banks, and like I went to Florida a couple times. But over the past year, I've gotten to see so much of the world. I've been able to go to California, Colorado, all up and down the Northeast, Utah, just a bunch of Nevada, a bunch of really, really cool places. And even still, like, there's so many places that I still want to go to. I got to go to Tanzania, climb Mount Kilimanjaro. Like, there's such a big world out there, and there's such a diverse population of people out there with so many different beliefs, so many like different cultures, so many different ways of life, so many different ways that people stay healthy, that they like family customs. And I ultimately just want to go and uncover those things, spend time in those cultures, in those places, and show people what is out there, and find a lesson in all of it on how we can take it and apply it to our own lives. Because if we constantly just stay in this comfort zone, if we constantly stay in this bubble that we've grown up in, we are never going to have the growth that we want, or that we desire, or that God wants for us. Because again, we're constantly thinking about self. What do I want? And for me, like, I wanted to start doing YouTube again for a while, but I wasn't sure if that was what God wanted for me. And the more and more He spoke to me, the more people that He's put into my life, the signs are showing that that's the direction where I need to put my energy. And as the idea came up of like, hey, I'm just going to post and see if I can find anybody in the Austin area who could help me with YouTube. And if not, like, oh, well, maybe I'll just start doing it myself, or I don't know, maybe I'll never get to it. But within like an hour, I had an email from a guy named Connor, who one of my best friends in Austin, Ryan, had told about my content and said, hey, you guys should connect. And like that same day I had posted, hey, I'm looking for some help. He sent me over some work that he's done. Connor actually came to my run club the next day, not even knowing that it was a run club that I had started. And so we got connected. We started talking. We ran together. Then we ran together another day, and then we started hanging out. Found out he just moved like 5 minutes up the road from me. We started just chilling and grilling steaks, and just spending a lot of time together. And it was an easy yes for him to start working with him. So having somebody to help me fulfill my creative vision and also just provide some creative direction and just see the vision that I have and the impact that I'm trying to have on this world. And again, this is not to serve my own ego. In the past, it had been. In the past, it was like I just want to. I would say I'm doing it just because I want to help people, and then like I wouldn't do the things that would reflect that. Like I wouldn't take the time to respond to comments or DMs or listen to the questions that I was actually getting from people consuming my content, and was just doing it selfishly. Now I really believe that in my second life, God is calling me to continue to create and create in a way that serves others, that inspires others, that provides tools, tips, and resources and inspiration to live a life that you love. Because life is too short to live a life that is unfulfilling, that you're not happy with, right? And I've been in those situations. It sucks. It sucks. Like straight up. It just straight up sucks. And we've been given the gift of life, and we have to take advantage of that. And we've got to live it to the fullest, and we've got to lean into what feels uncomfortable, but ultimately we feel God calling us towards. Because if you feel a call, if you feel a pull towards something, there's no coincidence that you're getting that feeling, especially if you're getting it multiple times. Like if you keep getting the same voice in your head telling you that you should go start that business or launch that company or go on that trip or ask that girl out or whatever it is, like there's a reason why. And that inspiration, as it comes to you, if you don't capture it and put it into action, it's going to go like in one ear and out the other, and it's going to go to someone else. Like the inspiration and the things that come to us are not by accident, but it's uncomfortable to step outside of what we're used to. And that's what I'm doing right now. One of my favorite verses is from Hebrews 1:11. It's, "Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen." And having faith, blind faith, knowing that it might seem scary, it might seem uncomfortable, but you need to have that faith, because what is waiting for you on the other side of taking that leap is something so beautiful and beyond measure, beyond anything that you could imagine. And another verse that I always come back to that gives me a lot of peace in my pursuit is Jeremiah 29:11. "For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord, plans to prosper you, plans to give you hope and a future." He has us in the palm of his hands. He is reaching out to us to have a relationship with us and guide us and take us on our journey. All we have to do is reach up and grab it. He's always there. He's always there. Whew. So I've been a bit reluctant and I've been a bit scared because I feel like I'd be letting people down by not continuing the show. Because one, I love you guys. I love you guys to death. And I am so, so grateful for each and every one of you who's tuned in, who's given me positive feedback, and who's been just a part of this journey with me. I feel like part of me feels like I'm letting you guys down, but then I also feel that opening up this time and this creative energy is going to allow me to work on what God truly wants me to be doing. And then think about the direction I want to take the podcast when I come back to it. It's very much been like working on it or working in it versus working on it. And I haven't been able to kind of explore the areas where I can improve and, just kind of see what the audience, you guys are actually looking for, and, what like I want mixed with what you guys want mixed with what God wants for me, and just finding that like sweet spot. So having the time to do this is going to allow me to do that. And, the process of YouTube is just an absolute beast. Like I spent 3 hours the other day just brainstorming titles for one video. So there's so much more that goes into it. And I am taking up like what Tim Ferriss calls like the eternal blue belt. And that is basically just in karate or martial arts, like having a blue belt is one of the lower belts, and just being in that lifelong learner stage and never, being satisfied with where you're at and always trying to learn and grow and improve. And that's where I'm at with the YouTube series right now. So I've been working really, really hard, putting a lot of creative energy into that. And I know that the podcast is going to be something that I come back to. But right now I need to direct my energy into what God is calling me towards. And it's something to think about for you guys. What are the things that you feel like you've been called to do that you haven't had the courage to take on? Or what are the things that you're currently filling your days with that are holding you back from putting your attention and your energy into something that really matters? Like there's a great book called The One Thing, and it talks about, what is that one thing that you can do every day to move the needle forward in like the one thing that is your main focus. And for me, that is YouTube right now. And I need to make that my one thing and continue to focus on building the business, building Upspace, building Squad Up, creating high quality content that brings value to you guys. Like I don't have anything to sell. Okay. Like I don't have a training program. I don't have a coaching offer. I don't have a product. Our apps are free to use, and they're really helping people build healthy habits. They've helped me build healthy habits, and I'm excited to continue to build those out and see them grow and evolve with my team. And besides, the products with the brands that I work with, which I really believe in, I don't have anything to sell. I just genuinely love creating content. I feel like I was called to create. There's a great book called Jordan Raynor that I read that really touches on that concept of, God created us to create. It doesn't have to just be like content creation. It could be businesses. It could be art. It could be music. It could be community. But he called us to create. So as I end this last podcast for now, because I will be back, I just wanted to say thank you guys, as always, for supporting me and showing me so much love and so much support. You guys are the reason that I keep going. And there's been a lot of days and a lot of weeks where I just haven't been super motivated. I haven't been super inspired, but I know that I would be letting you guys down. I would be letting God down, and I would be letting myself down if I didn't show up. So think about that. If you are choosing not to show up, you're letting yourself down, you're letting others down, and you're letting God down, because he instilled in us a God-given potential that we are obligated to pursue every single day. And it's up to us whether we decide to do it or not. So this is not a goodbye. This is just a see you later. And I'm stoked for the future, for what it holds, for these new creative pursuits that I'm pursuing, and to continue to walk on this journey with you guys. I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful for you. I will see you very, very soon. God bless all you. Peace. Thank you guys so much for tuning into today's episode. I wanted to give you all a heads up too that I launched a free community on the Upspace app where you can join, ask me questions, connect with like-minded individuals, follow my 4-week running and strength training program that has some dedicated mobility sessions in there as well, so that we can all optimize our health and fitness together. So if you're interested, head over to the App Store, download the Upspace app, and join the Pure Ambition community today. Love you guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.